And I'll go ahead and call this policy board meeting for the regional Rio Grande Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization to order. Item number 2, roll call.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, this meeting was posted to our website and the Secretary of State's website December 8th at 8:35 a.m. Roll call. Hidalgo County,
Present.
City of Brownsville,
Present.
Cameron County,
Present.
City of McAllen, City of Edinburgh, City of Mission, City of Harlingen,
There she is.
City of FAR, Starr County, City of San Benito, Cameron County RMA, Hidalgo County RMA, Valley Metro, Tech.FAR District. We have quorum.
I believe the city of McAllen is here also. They just walked in. Okay, very good. Item number 3, public comments. We did have Mayor Guerra from San Benito sign up. Mayor? Oh, okay. Just for the record, if you could state your name, title, please.
For the record, Mario Perea, Chief Police for the City of San Diego. Good afternoon, everyone. Mayor, again, invited me here today, knowing that there's going to be, well, of course, there's going to be elected officials here from county and city. What I want to do today is I just want to express thank you to everyone and appreciation for the assistance that we received for Lieutenant Resendez's funeral, for his passing. October 17th is it's the worst day in the department's history. We lost an officer in the line of duty, and there's a lot of things going on that night, going through my head, going through my command staff's head. But one thing that kind of put us at ease was October 18th, and even or as early as midnight, I was receiving calls from different chiefs of police, sheriffs, elected officials expressing their condolences, but not only that, offering their help, and which I just want to say thank you to all the city leaders and county leaders that are here. There was no shortage of resources. Like I said, there was no worries on my part. I got to sit back. I got to spend time with the family and assist them and whatever they needed. And I had a lot of agencies that were taking care of the honor guard, traffic control, all other. To this day, I still have assistance. So just wanted to come here, take a minute or two just to say thank you to everyone, and I appreciate your help. And we couldn't have sent him off in the way he deserved without everyone's help, and I think that's awesome. I'm happy to be part of this law enforcement community here in the Rio Grande Valley. I think you guys got a lot of great leaders, sheriffs, chiefs of police, and I just want to say thank you. All right.
We don't have anybody else that signed up for public comments. I'd like to take just a minute of personal privilege to congratulate Cameron County and the FAR District for the acknowledgement yesterday by TxDOT and making the second causeway or a state road. That's a major accomplishment, so congratulations to Cameron County, to TxDOT, to all the valley, because it's going to be of benefit to all of us. So that was a major step moving in the right direction, even though it might be a tiny step. It's I think symbolically a major step for the valley. So congratulations to all the leadership that made that happen, City of South Padre Island, and all the other communities that were involved in that. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, item number 4, action and discussion items. A, approval of minutes for October 25th, 2023, and November 30th, 2023. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Okay, thank you. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, Metropolitan Transportation Plan, RFP Subcommittee Score and Consultant Selection.
Good afternoon. Today I'm here to present the three RFPs that we had out. The first one that I'm introducing is the MTP, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. It's our 50-year plan that we need to renew. We had 2 submittals, I believe, or no, just, was it 2? Just one. One submittal for the MTP, and it was Alliance Transportation Group. The subcommittee met and scored them. They scored them an 8.35 out of 10, so they got a nice high score for it. And it is the staff's recommendation to proceed with selecting Alliance Transportation Group for the MTP.
Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C, Passenger Rail Feasibility Study, RFP Subcommittee Score and Consultant Selection.
So the next item is the rail study. For the rail study, we did receive 2 submittals. The 2 companies that submitted was ACOM and the Tri-Railroad Holding Company. Both of them were scored on the same time as the other one, and ACOM received an 8.53 out of 10, and Triangular Railroad received a 3.73 out of 10. It is the subcommittee and the tax recommendation to proceed with ACOM for this contract of the feasibility rail study. If there's any questions, this is an action item.
Any motion from, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item D, Weslaco, Texas Southwest Loop. Planning Corridor Alignment Study, RFP Subcommittee Score and Consultant Selection.
On this one, this is the last one that was scored by the subcommittee. The subcommittee gave Ted Z an 8.19 out of 10. They were the only ones that submitted. At TAC, it was their recommendation to extend this RFP by 60 more days so we can receive more bids for this study. We did reach out to Weslaco. They said that there was no deadline. There's no immediate deadline for this study, so there's no need to start already. That 60 days is allowable to continue to proceed with more bids.
Yeah, this is something that Hidalgo County Precinct 1 is working with the city on, and I had reached out to them as well just to get their feedback, and they were comfortable with it. There is no timing issue, so I'm okay with it.
So it is tax recommendation to extend this RFP for 60 days, or if it's your recommendation, to proceed with Ted Z.
So here it's to extend 60
Okay.
days, right?
So then, yes, it would be, then the motion would be to extend this RFP for 60 days.
We have a motion from City of Mission, second by Metropolitan Planning, or, yeah, Metro, Valley Metro. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 5, presentation and reports. A, presentation of the RGVMPO Resilience and Sustainability Analysis produced by ATG. Javier?
Good afternoon, Board. Pretty sure everyone's familiar with who I am, but my name is Javier Dominguez. I'm Executive Analyst at the LRGVDC. Here today, I'm introducing Mr. Ben Magallon from ATG, who worked alongside us this past year developing this resiliency and sustainability analysis. Together, we also got to present this report in El Paso and in Corpus Christi with A&M's Better Border for Better America conference, as well as the Texas APA chapter conference, and we received a lot of great feedback and comments, as well from our technical advisory committee. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and just introduce Mr. Ben Magallon, who will be presenting the final report, so to speak, on this resiliency sustainability analysis, and it is the goal to not just shelve this plan, but to try to see what we can do once this plan is completed and approved by you all, and how we can keep the efforts going. So, Mr. Ben Magallon.
Thank you, Javier. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Like Javi said, my name is Ben Magallon. I'm a senior transportation planner and served as a project manager for this resilience study on behalf of Alliance Transportation Group. It's been a great project. We wanted to present you the final findings, kind of what the strategies were identified, and an overview of what's contained in the report, as well as what are some steps for moving forward. The report includes an overview of what resilience is, where that vision came from, because there's a lot of different perspectives on resilience, how it all pulls together into some guiding principles, which really structured the analysis and the recommendations that were developed for the report, A really important component of this was the public engagement. Your RGVMPO staff did a fantastic job with outreach, supporting pop-up events, and we had a really good in-person SWOT workshop as well as really good virtual SWOT workshop, which really helped winnow down what hazards we looked at for the region and develop some of the strategies that seemed more feasible for implementation. We looked at a lot of data across a lot of different topic areas, what the network condition is, how it supports active transportation, transit, freight, evacuation routes, our STRANET, the strategic network that supports our military and homeland security, looking at how our border crossings and bridge conditions and pavement conditions all support regional quality of life, as well as looking at crash hotspots as a contributor to our stressors or risks is one of the things that we consider for resiliency. Those risk profiles were developed using largely a FEMA resilience analysis planning toolkit. So it's a large data set that's at the national level, and we dug down at the regional level looking at what are some of the associated risks and costs of those risks, what are some estimated annual loss, and then what are our social vulnerability looks like as far as these risks, which communities across our region are potentially more at risk to these hazards, and then looking at how we can start addressing some of those things. This study was structured following FHWA guidance on PROTECT grant funding. We set it up that way so that your staff could carry it forward and go after this competitive grant, as well as maybe provide some preliminary data analysis support to TxDOT for they do receive some formula PROTECT fund grants as well. So the cost-benefit analysis looked at what some of the annualized costs of those hazards are, as well as what some of the implementation costs and benefits for some of the strategies we discussed. A really important part of this was looking at equity. As we mentioned earlier, the outcomes of these risks for our communities that are maybe more disadvantaged tend to be a higher severity outcomes following extreme weather events, heat, a lot of the different hazards that we looked at. So the Tri-County Regional, we looked at all three counties, even extending beyond the MPO boundary for Hidalgo County, Cameron, and Starr. And ultimately that pulled together into some mitigation measures and recommendations that we've developed into some really graphical pullouts. We wanted to be able to use these to identify who our teaming partners were for these strategies, as well as what funding opportunities are available for these beyond our typical MPO Category 7 and the different category funds that we manage at the MPO level. All that data was compiled into a priority investment network, which is being packaged and will be delivered to your staff as a tool for moving forward. It combines all those different data that we looked at to be able to assess. What's shown here is the composite score. So the darkest blue there is showing you where your best bang for your buck for resilience is. However, that tool comprises or has some attributes in there. So if we wanted to prioritize, say, where our highest risk for storm surge or hurricane impacts are, we can do that and then put together a PROTECT grant application, for example. Moving forward, the recommendations are structured along those categories and those investment strategies, identifying if it's a short-term or a long-term solution. I'm sorry, short-term or long-term action, as well as identifying who our planning partners are for those strategies and where those funds could be coming from. I went through that rather quickly. It's a fairly healthy size report. I think we're around 200 pages. We were developing, as part of our project closeout, we have an executive summary. All the data is being packaged for your staff, and we look forward to any comments or recommendations. A couple of things to note. One of the recommendations in there was to possibly form a resilience task force. I think there's some low-hanging fruit in there as far as competitive grants. Javi mentioned this presentation was at APA Texas, as well as the El Paso Better Border Conference. This was also presented in Washington, D.C. at the Transportation Research Board's Resilience International Conference on Extreme Weather challenges, and Becky Lopez, who's FHWA's head of the resilience program, was the moderator for that panel. She was very impressed by the RGVMPO as an organization, what was contained in this report and all the hard work your staff put into it. So thank you for letting us be a part of your journey, and we look forward to continuing working with you.
Any questions or comments? So my question or slash comment would be, we have a deliverable, we have reports, we have outcomes. Who's going to be using this on a moving forward basis? What are we going to be doing with this to provide opportunities for these grants and other resilience type projects? I don't know who's. What I would try to avoid would be that we did a report, sits on the shelf, and doesn't really serve a purpose. What are we doing moving forward with this?
So one example that we spoke at the Technical Advisory Committee meeting, or with the subcommittee that helped us develop the plan, is to get feedback on what sort of projects, now that we have the project tracker that was developed, that we can target, whether that be a RAISE grant, but although, like Ben said, that this was primarily tailored for the PROTECT grant. And so working to see what partners in the region want to partner on a grant, that could be one step. And then as well as identifying new projects or initiatives that we can sort of tackle. For example, if we see that there is one of the recommendations to do BIOS wells, possibly have a subcommittee meeting and see who's interested in BIOS wells. And so just keeping the conversations going based off of the recommendations and utilizing the project tracker that was already developed to target those projects that are a little bit closer to obligating or letting, but understanding that we might have more of an impact on projects that are more in the outer years of the MTP. Maybe we can have those one-on-one conversations with those LGs on how we can sort of modify or add something to that project. And by doing so, using the research done in this report and this analysis, hopefully that will make qualify or eligible for a specific grant. So that is just some of the ideas that was brought up, and obviously if there's any other idea from anyone here on the policy board or the technical advisory committee on how we can keep the conversation going, or the MPO and by extension the COG as well, is more than happy to take on those ideas and see how we can sort of implement them in the plan of action. But that is the ideas that have been brought up so far. Various different routes we can take with it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much for the report. Believe you'll be doing the next report as well.
Yes, sir.
Item B, discussion and update on performance management framework project with the Alliance Transportation Group. Mr. Ben Magala.
Thank you once again. Again, it was my pleasure to serve as the Deputy Project Manager for the development of this performance management framework, serving under Mr. J.D. Allen, our project principal for our planning department at Alliance Transportation Group. Again, it was a pleasure working with your staff. They're really dedicated, asked a lot of really good informed questions, held our feet to the fire on data analysis and where this whole project was going. So the framework components are based off of FHWA guidance on performance management, which is a requirement under the FAST Act for looking at how we're doing performance-based planning. It's ultimately a business strategy meant to guide our decision-making, framing it at the high level to help structure how we understand and inform our processes, and organizing how we do project prioritization, how we look at target setting and reporting, and how we develop our strategies and strategic direction goals in our MTP update process, so that ultimately, as new requirements come out, whether federally, state level, or locally, your staff have the tools to adapt and develop updated performance measure reporting processes, as well as strategic direction. How do we incorporate it into our strategic direction? So shown here is FHWA's graphic on the whole performance management framework. The documents developed into a number of chapters based on these guidelines from FHWA, and I want to show the outside blue circle is organization and culture, and that's kind of like the plate on which everything is heaped. And you guys have a really great organization in the RGVMPO and a great culture here in the Valley. Just wanted to say that as far as what we see as guidance from FHWA and what we are seeing here in the Valley, as far as staff support, training, and you guys coming together as an organization, you're really hitting the boxes for all the best practices. So as I mentioned, this document is structured in chapters based off of that guidance, in addition to an implementation recommendations chapter. And then in the appendices, which have not been delivered yet, we have an implementation guide starting where we think, again, where the low-hanging fruit are for your staff to dive into this whole process. So some of the sample recommendations are looking at how we review strategic goals that are at least our MTP update process, and then having some other triggers for when new recommendations or requirements come out. I'll use, for example, just the day before Thanksgiving, Federal Highway published their final rule on greenhouse gas emission reduction targets. And so in this MTP update that we're very honored to be selected to support your staff with, we will be working with them on applying this framework and how we incorporate those new requirements. Target setting is looking at how we're setting those near-term targets, how we're coordinating on information on project closeouts so we know where our system is changing and where we might have the needle moving on those different areas of safety, pavement and bridge condition, and travel time reliability. Some of our performance-based planning recommendations use looking back at how we assessed our goals and targets to update our prioritization processes as needed. And then performance-based programming is promoting, one of the main recommendations was promoting project design components that have been shown to have outcomes on these different performance areas, but also we wanted to call out as much as possible throughout this document where you guys are already doing a really good job, and I'll use tracking project health and being concerned with project readiness goes into performance-based programming, because our performance-based planning is that long range, how do we strategize for the next 10, 20, 25 years, and then programming is how do we incorporate that into our UTP and our TIP. Monitoring and adjustment is that formalized review of each of those components, and then reporting and communication is how are we sharing that information with the public within staff levels and then with you in your technical advisory committee and other subcommittees. Here I also want to give a shout out to your staff for like the safety dashboard that you have up on your website. This is another great example of good reporting and communication on performance. Some of the sample recommendations for those other organizational elements, so the first 6 are process elements. Continue support for staff training. Having well-trained staff that are able to go to workshops and go to trainings that they need to maintain this process is really integral to maintaining a good metropolitan transportation planning process. We want to continue to see that good external collaboration and coordination, so your staff being able to attend TxDOT meetings, thank you TxDOT, meeting individually with LGs on where their projects are at and talking about project health. Data management, your staff are doing a really great job of managing their data, but we've provided some sample SOPs on data management, want to see some formalized processes, and this is more just for onboarding new staff. And the data usability analysis is really having candid conversations about what data we do have, how robust that data is, and then identifying where we maybe have data gaps. For example, we maybe don't have a complete pavement condition set of data for a whole region that's readily available to all our LGs for project assessment purposes. So using the framework, whenever new goals or requirements come out with the MTP update cycle, which we're committed to work with your staff on applying these recommendations during performance reporting, discussing what this all means, again, keeping it as an ongoing dialogue, as a business strategy, and then as new staff or committee members come on board. We've provided some resources for onboarding on what the MPO is and what performance management is as a business strategy. With that, thank you very much again for having me, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions or comments?
Just had a quick question on what it is that we're going to start to implement this.
Definitely, yes. When we're pending a couple of the documents to be received by our office. Once we receive those, we have to meet internally to implement this and incorporate this into our project scoring and, keeping track of project health and all of that. So we're looking to the early turn of the year to start, looking into this And of course, bring back our the project scoring subcommittees and all of those. So these are all things that will be coming at the turn of the new year. Sir, thank you, sir.
Any other comments? This is not an action item, right? Okay. Thank you very much. Item C, discussion and update on FM 509 corridor study with TEDSI. Eric? Eric Dietrich.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Dietrich. I'm with TEDSI. I'm going to go through our findings on this corridor feasibility study for FM 509. TEDSI was retained by the LRGVDC and the MPO and the City of Harlingen to prepare this corridor feasibility study along 509. And in order to provide the best possible corridor study report, we assembled a well-respected team of engineering firms, for which I have my partners here. TEDSI work in association with CJ Hench for data collection, GDJ Engineering on the environmental assessment, and grading systematics help us with the traffic projections and the safety analysis. Every corridor study has a need and a purpose. This study is needed to address passenger and heavy vehicular growth as a result of future traffic generators and by new regulations as Los Indios International Bridge that will deteriorate mobility and safety conditions along the existing 509 corridor if it remains as it is. The purpose is to widen the facility to a 4-lane roadway with shoulders with a center lane and to construct a shared path for bicyclists and pedestrians within the current 150 feet of right-of-way, which will provide the following benefits. It will improve the traffic flow, it will increase safety, it will be more supportive of pedestrian and biking activity, it will increase property values, it will enhance aesthetics, it will improve emergency response, and reduce pollution. This next slide shows the study area. The study area is from the intersection of 509 with the expressway I-69E to the south down to US 281 Military Highway. Existing conditions. TEDSI compiled as-builts and visited the site to assess the existing conditions. The slide shows the FM 509 current typical section, which has one 12-foot lane and a 10-foot shoulder in each direction. The right-of-way varies from 150 to 400 feet. It's classified as a principal arterial. The posted speed limit is 65 miles an hour. And the land use consists mainly of agricultural use with minimal residential and commercial use. The corridor is not pedestrian or bicyclist friendly because of the high speed and the presence of considerable heavy traffic. And it currently has minimal transit use. TEDSI followed a 3-step work plan. The first step was the data collection, environmental, drainage, and traffic data collection. The second step was the data analysis. And the third step was to come up with a feasibility study. And now I'll introduce Ms. Corina Argullin with GDJ, She will share her findings regarding the environmental fatal flow analysis.
Thank you, Mr. Tadrick. I am Corrine Arguin. I'm with GDJ Engineering. As part of the environmental fatal flaw analysis, we reviewed such subjects such as hazardous materials, oil and gas wells, wetlands, protected areas, sensitive areas, biological resources, water resources, and historic resources. Based on the analysis, no apparent National Environmental Policy Act fatal flaws were identified. However, we did have some recommendations based on our findings. We recommend avoiding and minimizing right-of-way acquisition to the greatest extent possible, and coordination with resource agencies such as Texas Parks and Wildlife, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife due to the proximity of resacas and potential wetlands, as well as lands owned by those respective agencies in the surrounding area. Although not listed in the Texas Historic Commission records, Cameron County Irrigation District Number 2 was identified by the TxDOT system as a local or potential district. Therefore, we do recommend coordination with the Cameron County Historical Commission. And lastly, since there are existing gas and electrical lines that do intersect the project area, we recommend coordination with all those utility companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Corina. And now, Mr. Juan Bernal. He's our specialist in drainage, and he will share his H&H findings.
Good afternoon. I'm Juan Bernal with TESI Engineering. We perform a preliminary hydrology and hydraulic analysis of FM 509. We found 23 drainage areas from 11 acres to 190 acres in size draining into FM 509. The FM 509 hydrology and hydraulic analysis indicates no negative drainage impacts in surrounding vicinity for any future roadway development. Our recommendation is to complete a full hydrology and hydraulic analysis of the existing and proposed conditions to determine the following: improve existing outfalls, need for proposed outfalls if any is required, improve or replace existing culverts once proposed capacity is determined, and improve existing roadside ditches for better flow into the existing culverts. There was a complete full report that's submitted to the MPO. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan, very much. And now I will have Mr. Sam Boluli with grading systematics, and he will describe the methodology he used to come up with the traffic projections, and we'll discuss the safety analysis shortly.
Hello, this is Sam Bohluli with Gradient Systematics. As many of you know, I've been involved in this transportation industry in Valley for the last 15, 20 years. Following the SOP provided by TPMP and TxDOT, we started analyzing the corridor from socioeconomy all the way to projected traffic, comparing with travel demand modeling, and suggesting some increase and growth in the traffic. As you know, in terms of population employment, Valley area, Cameron County area is much higher than state by itself, and the corridor is much higher than even the average of the Cameron County area. As you see, in population 1.5, then in county level 2.14, but the project area level is in 3.29, which follows the same kind of pattern in employment. Because of the connection with the Harlingen area airport and all those port activities with the bridge here in Los Indios, this corridor has a specific need and specific niche different from surrounding area. It can create a very nice connection between just the border area, avoiding people going all the way to Military Highway and come back to 69. This direct access helps a lot in the area to give access for this important movement. The traffic analysis followed the SOP, TxDOT SOP, but let's just put it here that now that we have representative from TxDOT, we just assume that interim approvals in each step has been taken from TxDOT because there is no CSJ seat available for this credit. We have gone through, but when we want to go back and start with TxDOT procedure, every step needs interim approvals that we passed it through. The model showed the travel demand model of the area showed 11.5% growth in traffic. The historical growth was 2.8, but we recommended that 5%, which is the maximum allowed by TPMP recommendation. In the traffic operation, we assembled a platform that does crash analysis. I don't want to go through the detail, just the main takeout from this is that by improving this facility, we can almost, just because of reduction of crashes and all the corresponding costs, we can almost save $4.2 million per year by implementing this this improvement for the corridor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam.
I'll get back to you.
Thank you very much. Okay. The last analysis that we did was the traffic operations analysis, with which we determined level of services for the different intersections and the corridor itself, and we found out that with the proposed solution, the level of service will be fine in the future. And after we did all this analysis, we at TETSI compiled all the evaluations and came up with several alternatives. The first one, the alternative number one, is no build, which is keeping the existing corridor. The problem is that if we don't upgrade this roadway, the level of service will deteriorate in the future. And so we need to do something about it. All the benefits that we presented with the purpose will not be fulfilled. Then we went to the following alternative number two, which is the rural typical section, which is the lowest cost for this proposal. It has two lane of travels in each direction and a shoulder and a continuous two-way left turn, 14-foot two-way left turn lane. And we're proposing, in order to make it more pedestrian and bicycling friendlier, a 10-foot wide hike and bike path on the east side of the roadway. With this alternative, the drainage will be handled with roadside ditches. The estimated construction cost per mile for this alternative is $12.2 million. The grand total on the 8.5 miles is $103 million. And with this alternative, all the purpose benefits that we mentioned at the beginning are satisfied. Then we analyze another alternative 3, which is the urban typical section. That includes a similar typical section in terms of lanes, travel lanes, but on this situation, drainage is handled with curb and gutter and a storm sewer system. This one also complies with all the benefits, but the problem is that it's much higher cost. As you can see in this following slide, the estimated construction cost per mile is $16.6 million, which takes it to $141 million in total. This would be good, as a final ultimate alternative, but because of the cost, TETSI came up with alternative 4, which proposes building a rural typical section for most of the length of the segment, and an urban typical section only at both ends of the project, half a mile south of the expressway and only 650 feet north of US 281. With this alternative, also all benefits are satisfied, and the the grand total will be 106 millions, which is only 3 more millions than alternative 2. As a result, our conclusion is that we recommend selecting alternative 4 as the preferred alternative, and we would like to provide the following short and long-term recommendations. The short-term recommendations would be to develop the schematic PS&E and construct the preferred alternative facility, upgrade the drainage system, modify the overhead flashing beacon assemblies at intersections, and relocate illumination assemblies as needed. For the long-term recommendations, we say to perform periodical signal warrant analysis on the most important intersections to check if they are warranted, and evaluate the need for increasing the length of the segments with urban typical sections. And with that, I'm open to any questions that you may have, and I want to thank you, everybody, for giving us the opportunity. It was a very good, lengthy project. I hope I didn't put you to sleep with a long presentation, but any questions?
Pete, go ahead.
Chairman, do you mind going back to the urban typical section, please? Okay, so thank you for the presentation. Very good presentation.
Thank you.
One thing that we have in the past looked at TxDOT and implemented is a strategy to be able to convert one day from a rural section to an urban section where we add lanes and drainage and things of that nature, but we take full advantage of the typical section. For example, we build, and I'm sorry, I'm an engineer, I have to I talk with my hands a lot of times. We build a rural section, and in time, that section could then be extended out, adding drainage features. So now, one day, this could potentially be a 6-lane facility, as an example. But we take that into account, and we build the profile of in a rural setting, but keeping urban in the ultimate goal. I'm not sure that was taken into account, but that's something that I think we need to be considering. From Harlingen south to Los Indios, it is an international port of entry. There's been a lot of interest from the community, Port of Harlingen, namely regarding overweight corridors, connectivity to US 281, military highway, and we don't know what's going to happen on the Mexican side of the house, if you will. But if one day they expand their port in Mexico, and we would potentially accommodate that on the US side, there's going to be a greater demand. So just something to keep in mind. Thank you for the report, very informative.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And yes, alternative 4 is exactly, using the rural typical section, but with the opportunity to make it urban in the long run.
So when you say the development of FM 509, is that an existing FM corridor right now?
Yes, sir.
So this would be a state road?
Yes, that is correct. It is a state road.
Okay. Any further questions? Go ahead.
So this is an FM right now. I mean, if we're talking long term, wouldn't you at least want to ensure that in this design you're considering the future of that designation, whether it's a U.S. highway or an interstate? I mean, you've got I-69 on the north, military on the south, going to a port of entry. It seems like by going with this alternative, you're limiting your ability to do that in the future. What would you say about that? It could be I-69 someday. And so what are we doing to ensure that that can happen?
The study takes that into account. We did the traffic projections, takes into account the fact that it's an overweight corridor, and we contacted the people from Los Indios Bridge. So what you do, you come up with projections. You forecast your traffic 20 years ahead.
No, I know how it works. I'm asking, was that done?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, we don't have time to go through all the details, but it was done. Yes, definitely. Yes.
And then, is there a lot of development from I-69 to the?
Right now, it's mainly agricultural with some residences and some commercial activity, but not much. But we expect in the future, based on what the information we compiled with the MPO and with the other agencies involved, like the Los Indios Bridge, we know it's going to be a lot of traffic, heavy traffic.
Roy,
And-
there will be.
Yeah, no, that's my point. So my point is, are you sure you want a continuous left turn lane on that typical section for that whole length of project? This is very important, this is very close to me. Believe it or not, I was there when we built that thing, so, is that a good idea to have a continuous left turn for the whole route?
As Mr. Alvarez was saying, you know, you design with the perspective on the future use, and we expect several commercial activity that will warrant having a left turn, continuous two-way left turn lane to access the different businesses that are going to be there.
But doesn't TxDOT prefer a median on a project like this?
Don't bring up that word, Roy.
We know, we love medians in McAllen.
Yeah, so you bring up a great point, Roy. At the end of the day, what is needed now versus what's in the future? I can see a concern, why provide a continuous left turn lane now if there's not much development in the middle, if you will. And I say the middle between in the interstate and 281 military. If it's very in a rural setting and what have you, why would you need continuous left turn lanes throughout? Would we be better served, if you will, to have two roadways, like a 4-lane divided highway, if you will, with a grass median, and then we can grow to the middle? That's something that, obviously, that's why we do the projections and try to identify what could be happening. I don't know how this area one day is going to be classified. Is it going to be industrial, or is it going to be commercial? And those type of things will influence. There is one benefit in having a continuous left turn lane, and that is separation at the end of the day. As far as for the potential for head-on collisions is minimized. 150 feet of right-of-way, trying to provide accommodations for pedestrian, bicyclist. All these things need to be taken into consideration. Cost, obviously, is a huge thing, because although we're going through this whole process, somebody's going to be knocking on the door at TxDOT and saying, okay, Cat 2 on this project, and we have to identify that as well. So all these things will need to be taken into account. To provide a 4-lane divided highway with a grass median would probably increase the cost because of additional pavement surface. But that's something that, we'll identify.
Sure. By eliminating 14 feet of asphalt?
But we have to have shoulders on two separate roadbeds that have to be taken into account.
Okay. Looks like you looked at it. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
I have a quick question. On the first slide, you mentioned that there are new regulations at Los Indios. What new regulations are you referring to?
There is going to be more increased heavy vehicle activity across Los Indios. They're expecting that very soon. So that's one of the reasons behind trying to improve this corridor.
Thank you.
You have your checkbook ready, Pete? You have your checkbook ready? So ultimately, who would decide the final design of this, Pete?
So ultimately, it would be a TxDOT decision. We would have public involvement to ensure that we have support, public support, by not only the public as a whole, but the elected officials in that region.
Would you consider that blended approach, that alternative 4, or would you probably just pick one or the other?
The blended approach to me seems adequate at this time. I will have a conversation with staff and see if there's any other opportunities.
Can I ask, was TxDOT involved in formulating these alternatives? Staff?
We coordinated with the area office, and but mainly this is our expertise to come up with the projections and adequate the type of facility you need based on your traffic projections.
Yes, but my question was TxDOT staff included in these conversations as you were formulating these opinions?
Yes, we talked to the area office engineer.
Okay.
All right, well, good report. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Item D, Ms. Eva, 5310, call for projects. Did she walk out? There she is.
My bad. All right. Good afternoon. I just wanted to give you a quick informational update. I'll be really quick. We have a 5310 call for projects. What is 5310? Oh, well, first, the schedule of activities. We opened this call November 1st officially. So it's been open over a month. We do close next Wednesday. As part of the funding summary, we have about 1.596 available in funding, but it's specifically for the McAllen urbanized area. And so 5310 funds come from Federal Transit Administration, and the direct recipient is the LRGVDC. But through the program management plan that we have, the RGVMPO puts out the call for projects, and we manage the scoring of the applications, the receival of the applications. And then once projects are selected, those individuals or agencies become subrecipients, and then the LRGVDC coordinates further agreements for the funding. So again, this is for the McAllen urbanized area that go directly to the LRGVDC that the RGVMPO helps program. And so what is eligible as part of this funding, there are two categories. There's traditional, also known as capital. Examples include buses and vans, wheelchair lifts, transit-related information technology systems, including scheduling, routing, or one-call systems, mobility management programs, and acquisition of transportation services under contract. And non-traditional is more operational. It can include traditional costs, but it also includes travel training, volunteer driver programs, construction of accessible paths, improvements to signage, wayfinding technology, etc. Something specific about 5310 funds is that it is required that a minimum of 55% is for traditional projects, and that a maximum of 45% is for non-traditional projects. We do have a scoring criteria to rank proposals, and they include project planning and coordination, service and sustainability, benefits, demonstration of need, budget, and then we do have some bonus points for added information or innovation to the area. So we review those projects, and we have a webpage dedicated to this. I did this presentation for the TAC, but we've done some website updates, which is really great. Check them out. So now the new tab is funding opportunities. And so TASA information and now 5310 information are under the tab funding opportunities as part of those updates. But we have everything there from the program guide, the scoring criteria, the application. On the left side of the panel, you see the additional resources. And at the bottom of the webpage, you have the workshops, PowerPoint, and the recording. Are there any questions?
Anyone?
As of today, we haven't received any applications, so if we do not receive any applications by next Wednesday, we may extend the deadline or talk to the transit agencies if we haven't received proposals. There have been interests. There's a class at UTRGV that did a walk audit. They seem to be interested in some improvements, and I think one of the Hidalgo County precincts is also interested in a future project. So we may be kind of running the schedule of activities too quickly and extend for better applications. So just FYI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva. Item E, Federal Functional Classification Post, TxDOT Training Update. Luis?
Yes, sir. We did have a training at the FAR area office with ourselves, TxDOT, of course, FAR district staff, TPMP, also FHWA. This was a really good training because it allowed us to further coordinate, what can be done when we submit our federal functional classification requests. So therefore, we, found out that there's a lot more that we can actually reach out to and coordinate even all the way up to FHWA prior to actually moving forward with the submittal, with issues possibly found, once it's already in their hands, so we can try to catch a lot of things, prior to that'll help, the overall process move a lot more seamlessly. So that was the overall, finding. There are a couple of slides. It's about 60-something slides, I believe, within the packet. That's the full description of the process, and it gets into full detail. What may be coming out of this as well is we've been in coordination with TPMP and FHWA to possibly open up to a training for all LGs here locally. So that's something that's still in discussion, which would be really good. So that way everyone goes through this process as well and, looks at what FHWA is looking for. And, our overall, it'll help our initial, submittals to be a lot more concrete and, a more seamless process overall. So that's another thing that we're looking forward to with federal functional classification. So that's the update that I have based on the training that was held.
Go ahead, Pete.
Chairman, may I? Big picture, in working with FHWA, I think one of the things we as a region are going to have to take into account is the level of classification of each individual roadways. There are many roadways in our region that are federally classified, if you will, but we need to have, different levels. And if we have them all at the same level, that's not going to be a no-go for FHWA. And I think I see Luis over there nodding his head because at the end of the day, the various classifications have to be diverse enough. From my perspective, as long as they're federally classified and we qualify for federal dollars, I don't care what you call it. You can call it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I really don't care. Why? As long as we are eligible for federal funding. But the reason I bring that up is as we continue to request federal classifications for the individual roadways in our region, we're going to have to look at the system in and around that particular roadway to ensure that the surrounding roadways are properly classified so we can indeed receive that classification from FHWA.
Ultimately, I think all of us want to get to letting, right? So we need these dollars, we need these construction dollars, and that functional classification is essential for us getting there. So I think it's a great program. I think one of the things that we talked about as a board is we want a little bit more engagement with training the elected officials that sit at this table with respect to the processes and what we need in order to get jobs from an idea to construction. But I think our RPICs, the people in our offices that are actually designated to do this work on a regular basis, need to understand this type of detail so that they can help us get those projects to construction faster. So I think this is great. I think you continue to develop it as part of the overall training program, not just for us as the elected body, but also for our representatives that are in charge of presenting these projects in front of TxDOT as far as rankings and the MPO and such. So I think this is a great tool that we can continue to develop as we move forward.
Definitely, yes. And I want to further add to Mr. Alvarez's comment. We do have, currently we're coordinating with TPMP, TxDOT, and FHWA to analyze our current submittals. That is indeed the case. We have a whole bunch of arterials, which is almost the highest, designation in an area, and we're wanting to add another arterial, for example. So therefore, we have to look at downgrading some of the surrounding facilities so that they function better, because that's the ultimate goal of FHWA, is to see how the actual network actually functions to ultimately move traffic to their final destinations. So that's why we have to have like a hierarchy of functionality in our network. So that's something that we're going to be adding on to our future requests for functional classification. So that's something coming here in the near future that we'll be presenting some new resolutions to address those things. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. Item F, RGVMPO Executive Director's Report and Updates. Luis?
Yes. First of all, let's go ahead and take a look at the budget. We're well below where we should be, since we did start the new fiscal year in October. So right now, with the dollars spent, $63,144.23. Where we should have been, and as far as expenditures at this point in time, should have been $177,000 and 43 cents. So we're well within the budget at this time. I do have also an update to the website, which however I mentioned that there are amendments being done currently to our website. All of these are in coordination to our upcoming federal review from FHWA. So therefore, we're trying to get the website as clean as possible and making sure that all documents are up to date and relocating documents and all of those things to make it easier to find, because in the past, FHWA has used our website as a desk audit for doing our initial review. So therefore, if you do see a lot of things changing on the website, that's the reason why. We're getting ready for all of that. And of course, we will be providing an update in the near future of the changes and the new things that have been added to the website. Another thing also, I wanted to let everyone know that on the 21st is the deadline for thoroughfare plan amendments. So that's all coming up. We've received a couple of amendments. We just have to keep in mind that all of those have to be coming with an ordinance or a resolution to support before we can actually apply it. We'll be moving forward in the turn of the year to present to county commissioners' courts. Once we've done that, we'll first, of course, coming here, presenting all the updates I would say in February is probably when we're going to come here, present all the updates, and then we'll be going over to county commissioners' courts for final approval, and that's when they'll be reflected on our ultimate UMAP, our interactive maps, is when we'll see the thoroughfare plan amendments shown. The last thing is that we are under public involvement for our MTP tip as of the 11th, so we'll be closing that up in January 11th. We have already a couple of locations for our public involvement, so that's all coming forward, so that's just something to keep in mind as well. And if there are any questions, I could take them this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Luis. G, TxDOT project status report.
Oh, hello everyone. Sorry, technical difficulties. My name is Katia Navar, and I work in the fire area office as a project manager. And I'm here to present the construction updates on the RGVMPO. So I'm gonna present Hidalgo County since I work in the fire area office. The first one is FN 2220, also known as Ware Road. This project is south of the expressway between Newhouse Drive and Augusta Avenue. The scope of work on this project is a raised concrete median and an overlay. The contractor is Foremost Paving. The percent complete is 45%, and the estimated completion time is December of this year. Here's a picture of the raised concrete median in the middle, and the contractor recently did the overlay on this project. The next project is 676, also known as Mile 5. This project goes between La Joma Road and Conway. It's also known as SH364 to SH107. The contractor on this project is Texas Cordia. The percent completed is 11%, and the estimated completion date is September 2025. Here's a picture of the project. The contractor was working on an irrigation crossing, and they were forming the walls on the irrigation crossing. And next is Cameron County.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Yahaira Marroquin, and I come to present the projects for Cameron County. Give me 1 second. So we have one project to present. It's the I-69E ramp reversal. This one has the limits from Industrial Boulevard to Loop 499, Primera Road around Harlingen. The scope of work is the northbound and southbound ramp reversal. The contractor is Foremost Paving, and it's 24% complete. It is estimated to be completed in December 2024. This is the northbound side, and they're working on the flex space. They're stabilizing the flex space. And then on your southbound side, you have the construction, the installment of your drainage structures. Thank you.
Real quick, why
Yes,
do you
sir.
call it a ramp reversal?
So, in layman's terms, the ramps used to be diamond configuration. You have an overpass, and you had a diamond. Now they're being reversed where it becomes the next configuration. The idea is, as you're approaching an overpass, you can get on the expressway, or on the interstate in this case, and not have to go through the signalized intersection. So historically, 1990 and before, with the lower traffic volumes, the diamond configuration worked well. As the volumes have continued to increase, the S configuration is a more efficient design.
Tell you, if you miss that exit, you gotta go all the way around back to the airport.
Been there, done that.
Jeez. And it's always when you get to where the exit used to be, you're like, oh.
Same thing happened to me a couple of Thursdays ago for the Alliance meeting. I missed it, and oh well, it is what it is.
Same thing with the far exit. Jeez, man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I guess we need to be paying better attention to the signs.
No kidding, right?
Good afternoon. My name is Derek Ramirez. I'm a project manager for the Far Central Design section, and I will be going over some project design updates. For the first project, we have SH48, South Padre Island Highway in Cameron County, Brownsville. The project limits extend from SH4, Boca Chica to FM 511. The project scope for this project, we are proposing to do safety improvements by installing a raised concrete median, and we're also going to be doing a roadway overlay. Environmentally, we are cleared and complete. We are not going to be acquiring any additional right-of-way. The status for utilities, we are cleared of any conflicts, and our PSE package is at 100% completion. And as far as the letting, we have a letting date for January 2024. Recent activity, we recently submitted our 100% PSE package to begin the letting proposal process.
How many construction days is it gonna be in that project?
About a year. Yeah, we're gonna be constructing
Los
the.
Fresnos.
What's the impact gonna be on traffic? I mean, that road is so stacked right
That's what
now.
I'm asking.
It's unbelievable. The trucks just backed up almost all the way to the port.
Is this so that everybody gets a Texas tag and starts going through the RMA roads?
No, no, I just don't, I mean, it's gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah. So that's a great idea, Chairman.
It is.
So
Sales pitch.
if I may, I think it's important to recognize this is a safety project. We receive Category 8 funding, which is money up in Austin that was basically provided to us to improve safety. I agree there's a lot of truck traffic. There's a lot of traffic in general. Raised medians are safer. At the end of the day, a raised median project provides a more directional approach where people are not cutting each other off and a higher risk of accident. Is it an inconvenience, if you will, to property owners, businesses perhaps? Yes. But at the end of the day, at TxDOT, it's mission zero. It's about saving lives. It's about minimizing the risk. It's about improving safety. So projects like this improve the overall safety. Is there an effect in the general area? Yes, there is. We acknowledge that. But the greater effect is improved safety, minimizing the risk for injury. And unfortunately, in some cases, even fatalities. So that's why this project's being developed.
Okay, for next project, we have SH 107, Conway Street in Hidalgo County. Project limits extend from FM 1924 to FM 676. The scope of work for this project, we're going to be doing as well as safety improvement by installing a raised concrete median. And we're also going to be adding capacity to the corridor by adding 2 additional travel lanes. Status for the project, schematic, we have it complete. Environmentally, we are cleared and complete. Right-of-way status, we are not acquiring additional right-of-way. Utilities, we are currently in coordination with respective utility companies. Our PSE is at a 60% completion, and we have a letting date of August 2030. For our recent activity, We have been in coordination with the United Irrigation District. We are also doing additional SUS studies at irrigation crossings, and we are reviewing landscape estimates at the concrete raised median for the city of Alton. Any questions?
I just have a comment. If you could go back one slide to that 107 project. State Highway 107 connects at Interstate 2 in the Mission area. And it goes all the way north, past Palmhurst, past Alton, takes a right through McAllen into Edinburgh. This is one of many segments of State Highway 107 that TxDOT is working on, where we're going from basically a 4-lane facility to a 6-lane facility with raised median. We believe that this corridor, based on the traffic, and the traffic in this area is 30,000 or so average daily traffic, this corridor helps supplement connectivity between the communities Mission, Palmhurst, Alton, McAllen, and Edinburgh. So as we continue to grow in the valley, the needs of projects like this, like FM 2220 Ware Road, Business 77 in Harlingen, State Highway 48 that you referred to in the Brownsville area, these are the type of things that we're going to have to consider in order to provide that connectivity. We talked about functional classification. Whether it's a collector or an arterial is going to be dependent on what are the needs of the future. So I'm glad that we're working with traffic modeling. I'm glad that we're projecting. And at the end of the day, our role in this policy board and at TxDOT is to deliver projects. So let's work together to ensure that that can happen moving forward.
And then if you could just give us one last update, how does the interchange over there?
The interchange, real quickly on that, the goal is to finish the direct connector, what we call direct connector number 1, San Juan to Edinburgh, by the end of the month. We have had some major challenges with rain in the month of November that caused a little bit of delays. The contractor, I met with him actually in Austin on Monday, has reassured us that they're going to do everything possible to finish the direct connector, that bridge, the last bridge, by the end of the calendar year in this December. And then as far as the overall project, substantial completion is anticipated at the end of March 2024. Substantial completion, that means all the main lanes would be open at the end of March. That is the latest update on that.
Is that project on time, Pete?
Yes, so the project had a little bit of delay up front. Right now, they're still on time. If they go past March, though, they'll be in liquidated damages and be paying heavy penalties.
When you say the direction or directional traffic, are you talking about all the way into McAllen?
Yes, we'll have the full 3 lanes. Actually, in the far area, it's going to be 5 lanes total. The 3 lanes plus all the 2 lanes that come in from the direct connectors. In some areas, there'll be 5 lanes. So I'm talking about the main lanes open from San Juan through far into McAllen.
Merry Christmas to all of us. Wow, okay. Any other questions or comments with respect to the TxDOT update? Thank you all very much. Item 6, other business, old or new? Anything, Luis? I think the only thing we...
For the executive director come in?
We did receive actually a high number of applications. We received 39. So right now what's happening is that HR is screening out. I did send out a couple of dates for the executive committee to meet with LRGVDC HR to, further look at those applicants that have been screened by HR. And then once that's done, with the turn of the year is when we're expecting to come back to this board to, proceed and see what the board would like to do as a result of the applicants that have been received. I believe Mr. Cruz has something to add to that.
Yeah, out of those 39, we've done a preliminary screening. I think we have 5 total that meet the criteria. We are going to include every single application just for the benefit of the board, the selection committee, so they can review it. But thus far, we have 5 qualified candidates, and they believe 3 are from out of state, and 2 are here in Texas. So
Manny, do we have a timeline already set for that, for the selection?
we're going off of the timeline that was selected last time. By the closed at the end of November. We're scheduled to meet at the end. That's what Luis is surveying, to see what dates would benefit the four members that were selected, either the last week of this month or push it back to January of 2024. So,
Yeah, I think we're looking at ultimately to get something done in January.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
might.
sir. Go ahead.
I just wanted to take a moment, first of all, to thank you for making the trip with us to Austin yesterday. And I want to thank each and every one of you, because all of you, I believe, submitted and letters of support for us as we presented before TxDOT yesterday. A few years ago, some of you were around and helping us help formulate and make the RGVMPO reality. We've seen the increase in the last 5 years from approximately $550 million valley-wide to over $3.6 billion. Yesterday's action, vote, and collaborative basis, in other words, the entire valley signing off on this most regional of projects, which I have advocated for since I took office 7 years ago. To me, it's the most regional, most statewide, most international project we've got. Unfortunately, yesterday was the first step, but it needed to be done, and we're very excited. So if you as an elected official for your own community, if you get frustrated or think that you're not making that progress, trust me, it may take longer than we like, and Pete Alvarez is here to fix that. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, and I know all of you share that, we are making progress. And the second causeway, the outer parkway, the I-69 connectors, to me, actually, that's a bigger part of that project. A whole new highway from the island to Edinburgh, I think, is going to really, really make all of these other projects even that much more needed and necessary. So don't lose faith, don't lose hope. We're making progress, and I want to thank everybody for being behind us in this one, and you can count on our support on your projects going forward. So thank you.
Anybody else with new business? Any comments? Okay, well, with that being said, obviously, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you and your families. Hope that everybody stays safe and healthy during this holiday season, and we will adjourn and expect to see you all on January 24th at 1:30 p.m. It is now 2:48, and this meeting is adjourned.